I feel like a reason it's hard to be ourselves these days, at least in my opinion, is because there are so many labels we associate ourselves with. Um, and while those labels can be a good thing, um, I feel like even the good ones, to a certain point, make us lose sight of, who we really are. Um, I tend to label myself a lot, whether it's to a certain group of people or a certain belief or certain actions, and things along those lines. I label myself with such things, and the more I continue to put labels on myself, the more I'm covering up who I really am. For example, let's say you are a word on a wall, or a stick figure on a wall. Sorry, let's go with this example. You are a stick figure on a wall. You're drawn, and as a drawing, you are you. And as you begin to progress through life, you put tape on yourself to label, and eventually you associate yourselves with so many groups of people and so many ideas and so many beliefs that you are covered by the tape. And the tape in this analogy is to compare it to labels. Eventually you are covered with so many labels that we cannot even see the stick figure behind all of those labels, behind all of the tape. Again, I'm not trying to say that labels are a bad thing, but taken to a certain way and a certain extreme manner, you tend to lose sight of who you are, and instead you become what the label says you are. It's a very nuanced topic, and it's something that I feel like human nature is labeling yourself in a way. You don't want to feel excluded by anybody, so you label yourself in order to fit in and in order to, associate with people who label the same as you. And, it gets to a point where in that analogy, the stick figure is no longer shown. And sometimes in order to be your true self, you have to rip apart some of those labels. The stick man has to rip off all the tape in order to be the stick man again. There's a balance that I personally don't have in my life yet, that I am able to be myself while being covered in labels. I feel like there's a lot of people, maybe you're one of them, that is able to do that, and kudos to you. It's a hard thing to do, to be yourself while also being labeled, because when you are labeled, not only are you seen in a specific way and a specific type of thinking, but you are kind of trapped into it. If you label yourself a certain way and you introduce yourself as that label, then no matter how many times you see that person again, they're always going to associate you with that label instead of who you actually are as a person. And that's that's not right, you know. Eventually that person only sees you as the label, and they're friends with the label. And you know, eventually when you discover a path of finding yourself or becoming, you know, your true self, you have to peel some of those labels off. And in return of peeling those labels off, the people that were friends with that labeled version of you want to cut you off. You know, it's a scary thing to cut off people that you've known for so long. And labels tend to keep you boxed into a certain way in a certain area of life that maybe you aren't comfortable with. If you are comfortable with that, then this message isn't for you necessarily. But I feel like anybody listening to this can see value in, you know, not identifying as your label so much, and rather identifying as, you know, who you are and what your morals are. Obviously, the labels you tape onto the stick figure can, and most of the time do, reflect on the type of person you are. But sometimes, you know, the label is just a label. You know, it's not something that you necessarily hold really true to heart. It's just something that you can relate to and something that you believe in, but it's not necessarily who you are as a person. You know, you can be labeled as like a shy person, for example, but in reality you are just a more reserved person until the time comes for you to be more outgoing. A lot of labels like extrovert and introvert always keep you into that same extrovert and introvert lifestyle, when rather you can be both, and you most likely are both. But because you've been labeled and you associate yourself with that label so much and so often, you kind of can't be anything else. And that's when labels become dangerous, in my opinion. I was labeled as a kid as a huge introvert. And what do you think that did to me as a kid? You know, do you think that made me want to bounce up and down in my seat and say hi to any kid I knew? No. That label made me reserved and quiet. That's not the type of person I am. Those of you who know me, who are watching this video, you know that I tend to be a loud and boisterous person. But that label created so long ago, and the people that knew me at that time of the label will most likely always see me as the introvert, because I associated myself with that label and I lived that label's life for so long that I wasn't anything else. I hope you're getting my gist of what I'm trying to say here. Don't associate yourself with labels, especially labels that you don't want to be known for. You know, I want to be known for who I am, not for, what this person labels me as or what I label myself as, because most of the time those labels are not you. That's basically it. I don't label myself as an introvert or an extrovert anymore. I just label my social status as what I am, as, who I am. Sometimes I want to talk to people, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I want to go out and party, sometimes I want to stay in and chill and watch a movie, Nothing I do anymore requires people to see me as, oh, he's an introvert, oh, he's an extrovert, because I know that those labels box me into a certain point of view that I don't want to associate with. I'm not even an ambivert. I'm me, and you're you. Are you an extrovert? No, you're you. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? I hope it does. I'm gonna log off for today. I hope you found some type of meaning in that lesson. I'll catch you in the next one, hopefully. Have a good night or a day or whatever you're in.